Hi guys! After natin i-review yung mga rules ng radicals, so ngayon naman magsisimplify tayo ng expressions gamit yung mga rules na pinag-usapan natin. Okay? So let's start! Okay guys, so let's multiply these radicals that we have here. So first we have square root of 2 times square root of 8. So ang gagawin lang natin is i-multiply lang natin si 2 at 8, and that is square root of 16. And to simplify square root of 16, that is 4. Okay? Next, we have cube root of 2 times cube root of 4. So that is cube root of 8. And the cube root of 8 is 2. Next, square root of 5 times square root of 7. That is square root of 35. Now, we know that 35 is not a perfect square. Therefore, kapag kinuha mo yung square root niyan, walang lalabas na eksaktong sagot. Okay? And walang katapusan yung decimal numbers. That's why you call them irrational numbers. Okay? So, if that's the case, hindi mo na kailangan kunin yung estimated amount gamit yung calculator, pero as is na lang siya. Okay? Pag nag-simplify tayo later on. Alright? So, again, before we multiply our radicals, make sure same yung root nila. Okay? Okay, so let's multiply 2 square root of 2 and 3 square root of 50. So, ang gagawin muna natin dito is, i-multiply natin yung nandun sa labas. So, we have here 2 times 3 and then times yung mga radicals naman. So, square root of 2 times square root of 50. Alright? So, 2 times 3, that is 6. And then, 2 times 50, that is square root of 100. Alright? So, to simplify this, we know that 100 is a perfect square and the square root of 100 is 10. And then, i-multiply natin sa 6, so the answer is 60. Okay? Okay, so let's simplify this. 12 square root of 32 over 2 square root of 8. So, we know that we can write it as 12 over 2 is square root of 32 over 8. Okay? So, to answer this, 12 divided by 2, that's 6. And 32 divided by 8, that is 4. And we know that 4 is a perfect square, so we can simplify pa. So, 6 square root of 4 is square root ng 4 ay 2. And then, let's multiply it by 6, and the answer is 12. Alright, can we divide square root of 52 and cube root of 2? No, okay? Because this is a square root and this is a cube root. So, we cannot divide radicals na magkaiba yung root nila. Alright? So, as is lang yan. Okay, so let's simplify 5 square root of 200. So, when we say simplify, guys, ang ibig lang sabihin nun is parang kukunin natin yung lowest term. But since it's radical, so ibig sabihin, paliliitin natin yung radicand natin. Alright? So, alam natin na ang 200 ay hindi perfect square. So, kailangan kumuha tayo ng factors ni 200 na perfect square. So, we know na pwede ang factor niya is 100 times 2. Alright? And alam natin na ang 100 ay perfect square. So, we can break down yung square root of 200 as square root of 100 times square root of 2. Okay? So, to simplify this, yung square root ng 100 ay 10. And then, let's multiply it by 5. And that will become 50. Since yung square root of 2 ay hindi perfect square, and wala siyang saktong sagot, and it's a rational number, ibig sabihin, walang katapusan yung decimal number niya. Now, kung ganyan yung scenario, we don't need to do anything para sagutan yan. As is na lang siya. So, ibababa na lang siya or ikakopy natin as like this. Okay? So, to simplify 5 square root of 200, that is 50 the square root of 2. Okay? So, para ma-check natin kung tama tayo, you can just multiply them and dapat ang lumabas ay yung 200 na nandun sa radicand natin before. Okay? Alright, so let's simplify square root of 75. Again, 75 is not a perfect square, so hanap ulit tayo ng factors niya na merong perfect square. And we know that we can multiply 25 times 3 and magiging 75. So we can break it down sa square root of 25 times square root of 3. And 25 is a perfect square, so therefore makukuha natin yung sagot na 5. And this one is not a perfect square, so as is na lang siya. Okay? So to simplify, square root of 75, that is 5, square root of 3. Okay? So to check kung tama tayo, you can just multiply it by itself. So 5 times 5, that is 25. Okay? And then times mo sa 3, you'll get 75. Yung radicand natin before. Okay? Okay, so let's add this radical. So we have your square root of 2 plus the square root of 8. Una, before we can add them, let's try to simplify kung kaya pa. So, si square root of 2, of course, hindi naman siya perfect square, so hindi na natin yung masisimplify. And yung square root of 8, though it's not a perfect square, pero alam natin na may factor si 8 na perfect square, and that is 4 times 2, and yung 4 perfect square. So we can still break down yung square root of 8 as square root of 4 and square root of 2. Okay? And then we can get the square root of 4 na 2, and then just copy yung square root of 2. And then bring down ito. So we have now square root of 2. Okay? So in this case, same na sila ng radicand. Okay? So pwede na natin silang makombine. So yung number dito, since wala, matik 1 yan. And then first, we need to add them. So this will become 3. Since same na sila, it's like a variable, ikakopy na lang natin. Okay? So this is the answer. So if we add square root of 2 plus square root of 8, the answer is 3 square root of 2. Okay? Alright guys, so let's simplify square root of 588. And we know that it's not a perfect square, so kailangan maghanap tayo ng factors ng 588 na merong perfect squares. Okay? So kung matatandaan nyo, dun sa previous video ko about factors, we can use the L shape para mas madaling makakuha ng factors. Tama? So it's like this. So una, i-multiply or i-divide muna natin siya sa mga prime numbers na divisible siya. So first, we can try 2. And 588 divided by 2, the answer is 294. Okay? And then, we can still divide it by 2, and the answer is 147. Now, this 147, it's not divisible anymore by 2, so we'll divide it by 3. And the answer is 49. Now, nakakita na tayo ng perfect square, so therefore we can stop there. So, ibig sabihin, ang mga factors ni 588 ay yung mga number dito hanggang dito sa ilalim. So, we have 2 times 2 times 3 times 49, and the answer is 588. So, kung mapapansin nyo, 2 times 2 times 3 times 49. So, ito perfect square na, and ito magiging 4, and that is also a perfect square. Okay? So, therefore, we can rewrite square root of 588 by dividing it or factoring it. So, it will become square root of 4 times square root of 3 times square root of 49. Okay? Kasi pag minultiply mo lang to, magiging square root of 588 lang din naman yan. Okay? So, in this case, kunin na natin yung square root ng 4, and that is 2. And then, yung square root ng 49 ay 7. Okay? So, we can multiply this na, and it will become 14. So, since ito ay hindi naman perfect square, so we can just write it as square root of 3. So, this is how we simplify square root of 588. And that is 14 square root of 3. So, if we want to check that, we can multiply 14 by itself first. And then, saka natin i-multiply sa radicals natin na 3. Okay, let's try. So, 14 times 14, 16, 56, 14, 6, 9, 1. And then times natin sa 3. So, 18, 27, 28. Okay. Alright? So, this is how we can check kung tama tayo. Okay? Alright, so we have here square root of 48 minus square root of 3 plus square root of 75. So, in this case, hindi pa tayo pwede mag-minus or mag-add kasi nga, iba-iba pa yung ating radicals. Okay? Dapat pare-parehas muna sila. So, ang gagawin natin is kunin natin yung GCF ng 48, ng 3, at saka ng 75. And their GCF is 3. Okay? So, i-rewrite natin yung square root of 48 and isip tayo ng anong i-multiply natin sa 3 para maging 48. And that is 16. So, we can break down square root of 48 as square root of 16 times square root of 3. Okay? And we know that 16 is a perfect square, so therefore, pwede natin makuha yung square root niya, and that is 4. And then, we can just write yung square root of 3 kasi hindi naman yung perfect square. Okay? Tapos, yung negative square root of 3, as is lang yan kasi nga, hindi naman perfect square si square root of 3. And then, yung positive square root of 75, kung i-rewrite natin yan, so ano yung i-multiply natin sa 3 para maging 75? And that is 25. So, pwede natin i-rewrite na square root of 25 times square root of 3. And square root of 25 is 5. And just copy the square root of 3. Okay? So, in short, ito, i-rewrite natin as 4 square root of 3, yung square root of 48 yan, and then ito as is, and then ito naman, yung positive 5 square root of 3. Okay? So, napansin niyo na same ng ating radicals. So, ibig sabihin, pwede na tayo mag-minus or mag-add. Alright? So, yung number muna sa labas. Okay? So, una, 4 minus, kasi negative yan. Since walang number sa labas, yung square root of 3, diba? Ito yun. So, matik, ang number niyan is 1. Okay? So, it means 4 minus 1, and then plus 5. So, the answer for this is 4 minus 1 is 3 plus 5, that's 8. Alright? And then, yung radical nila na pare-pares na, so para siyang variable, ikakopy na lang natin. Okay? So, this is the answer. Alright? Alright, so we have here 2 plus 7, and then ita-times natin dun sa 8 plus 3. So, to answer this, we can just simply add first yung number sa loob ng parentheses, and that is 9 and 11. Saka natin i-multiply, and the answer is 99. Tama? Other way to answer this is using the FOIL method. So, FOIL method stands for yung F, that is yung first. Okay? So, i-multiply muna natin yung 2 times 8, and that is 16. Alright? And then, yung sunod is O. So, outside. So, yan yung 2 at saka 3. So, 2 times 3, that is 6. Next is yung I. That's its inside. So, ito yung 7 times 8. And that is 56. And then, we have the L, which is last. So, multiply natin yung 7 at saka 3. And that is 21. So, ibig sabihin, pag pinag-add mo to, ang kalalabasan lang din yan ay 99. Okay? So, same lang din nung nakuha nating sagot kanina. So, mamaya, when we multiply radicals at saka merong kasamang hindi radicals, so, medyo complicated siya. Gagamitin natin yung FOIL method. Okay? Okay, so we have here 7 minus square root of 2. And then, i-multiply natin sa 5 plus square root of 3. So, ito yung sinasabi natin kanina na gagamitan natin ng FOIL method. Okay? So, yung first, it will become 35. And then, yung outside, so that is 7 times square root of 3. So it will become positive 7 square root of 3. Okay? And then inside, so negative square root of 2 times 5. So that is negative 5 square root of 2. Okay? And then, yung last square root of 2 times square root of 3, that is negative square root of 6. Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo, meron na tayong 35, 7 square root of 3, negative 5 square root of 2, and negative square root of 6. Wala na tayong masisimplify dyan or mako-combine kasi kung mapapansin nyo, iba-iba yung ating radicals. Okay? So, ito na yung sagot sa ating equation. Okay? Alright, so we have your 5 plus square root of 2 and then 5 minus square root of 2. So, i-multiply natin sila ulit gamit ang FOIL method. So, 5 times 5, that is 25. And then, 5 times negative square root of 2, that is negative 5 square root of 2. And then positive square root of 2 times 5, that is positive 5 square root of 2. And then, square root of 2 times negative square root of 2, that is negative square root of 4. Okay? So, let's combine like terms. So, mapapansin nyo, pwede na natin itong i-combine, but we have negative 5 and positive 5. So, in short, magiging 0 yan pag kinumpare, so matic canceled na to. Okay? So, we have now 25, and then yung minus sign, and yung square root ng 4 ay 2. Alright? And the answer for this is 23. Okay? Okay, so let's simplify square root of 6 over square root of 6. So, we can rewrite it as 6 raised to 1 half. Tama ba? Kasi square root siya. And 6 raised to 1 half. Okay? So, kung mapapansin natin, di ba yung rule ng exponent, pag nag-divide tayo, so it will become 6 1 half minus 1 half. So, i-minus lang natin yung exponent, and we know that that is 0. So, this will become 6 raised to 0. And any base or any number na kapag ang exponent niya ay 0, laging sagot ay 1. Okay? So, ito, kung gusto natin isulat siya as fraction sa loob ng radical sign, so it will become 6 over 6. And when we simplify that, that is square root of 1. And we know that the square root of 1 is 1. So, same lang din sila na magiging sagot. Okay? Okay, so let's simplify this fourth root of 2x raised to negative 1, w raised to 5 over 32 x raised to 7 w. So, ang gagawin muna natin is isi-simplify natin yung radicand natin. Okay? So, rewrite lang natin. Oops. Alright? So, i-simplify natin to gamit yung rules ng exponent. So, una, i-simplify muna natin yung number. So, we have here 2 over 32. And to simplify that, that is 1 over 16. Right? And then next naman is yung x. So, we have here x raised to 1 over x raised to 7. And yung rule dito, diba, ima-minus lang natin yung kanilang exponent. So, 1 minus 7, that is simply x raised to negative 8. And kapag may negative tayong exponent, again, it will just become fraction. But this time, magiging positive na yung exponent. Okay? So, we have the w, that is w raised to 5 over w. Tama ba? Yes. Okay? So, again, ima-minus lang din natin yung exponent. So, that is 5 minus, matic 1 to, right? So, 5 minus 1, and your w is raised to 4. Okay? And then, pagsasamahin lang natin yung mga naging nakuha nating sagot. Alright? So, it will become now 1 over 16 times yung 1 over x raised to 8. So, itong w raised to 4, kung gagawin niya fraction, di ba, over 1. So, ibig sabihin, nasa numerator lang siya. So, w raised to 4 over 1. Alright? So, kung times natin tong numerator and denominator, so 1 times 1 times w raised to 4, so that is w raised to 4. And then, over 16 times x raised to 8 times 1, so that is 16x raised to 8. Okay? So, ito na ngayon ang bago nating radicand, and kukunin natin yung fourth root niyan. So, isi-simplify pa natin to. So, kung i-rewrite natin to, it will become w raised to 4 over 16x raised to 8. Oops. Okay? And then, ang magiging exponent niya ngayon is raised to 1/4. Diba? Kung maaalala nyo, ang radical ay equivalent lang ng fractional exponent. Okay? But since fourth root yan, ibig sabihin, yung denominator natin dito ay 4. Okay, so balikan natin yung rule ng exponent pag ganito yung scenario. So, ibig sabihin, i-multiply lang natin itong exponent sa bawat isa. Okay, so let's do. So, w raised to 4 raised to 1/4. Pag ganito, i-multiply lang natin yung exponent. So, we have here 4 times 1/4. Diba, over 1 lang to. So, it will become 4 over 4. So, it's equals to 1. So, ibig sabihin, ito ay magiging w raised to 1. But we don't need to write yung 1. Okay? So, yung answer lang sa numerator natin ay w. Alright, yung sa denominator naman tayo. So, we have here 16 16x. Oh, 16 muna. 16 raised to 1/4. Okay, kasi di-distribute natin to dito. Okay, bawat isa. So, ang mangyayari ngayon, since 1 lang naman yun nandito, so same lang din yung 16 raised to 1/4, right? And again, pag fraction yung exponent natin, ang equivalent lang yan ay what? Fourth root of 16. Okay? So, kung natatandaan nyo, ano yung fourth root na 16? That is 2. Tama ba? Let's see. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and that is 16. Okay, kaya 2 ang kanyang fourth root. Alright? So, yung isa dito ay 2. So, doon naman tayo sa x raised to 8 and then raised to 1/4. So, x raised to 8 raised to 1/4. So, again, ita-times lang ulit natin to. So, it will become 8 times 1/4 to over 1 to. So, it will become 8 over 4, and that is 2. So, ibig sabihin, ito ay x raised to 2. Okay? So, ang kasama nito dito ay x raised to 2. Alright? So, this is how we simplify yung ating fourth root of, asan na yan? Ang layo na natin. Fourth root of, eto. Diba? Ang layo natin. So, nung sinimplify natin to guys, ang lumabas lang ay, asan na siya? Eto. Okay? So, yeah, napakahabang process guys, pero kaya nyo yan. Alright? So, again, ang ginawa natin, sinimplify muna natin ang ating radicand. Okay? Gamit yung mga rules of exponent. And then, inuna natin tong mga number, tas yung x, tas yung w. Okay? So, nung nakuha na natin, yung sinimplify natin, pinagsama-sama natin sila, at nabuo tong ito. Okay? So, nagbago na ang ating radicand. And then, nire-write natin yung fourth root ng exponent na 1/4. Saka natin ulit, what? Kinuha yung rules na i-distribute lang yung 1/4. Okay? So, after nyan, yung yung w raised to 4 naging 1/4. So, naging what? W na lang. And then, yung 16 raised to 1/4 naging 2. And then, yung x raised to 8 raised to 1/4 naging x squared. So, that's why, nung pinagsama natin, ito yung lumabas. Okay? Okay, so let's simplify the cube root of 8, x cubed, w raised to 9, z raised to 6. Okay, so i-rewrite natin to as fractional exponent. So, it will become 8, x cubed, w raised to 9, z raised to 6, and both, or all of them will be raised dun sa 1/3. Okay, kasi nga, cube root yan. So, rules of exponent, i-distribute lang natin to sa lahat ng number or variable. So, first we have 8 raised to 1/3, okay? And x cubed raised to 1/3. And then w raised to 9 raised to 1/3. And then z raised to 6 raised to 1/3. Okay? So, let's apply the rule. So, again, pag meron tayong fractional exponent, so 8 raised to 1/3, it will become cube root of 8, and we know that that is 2. Okay? This one, so rule natin, multiply lang natin to, so it will become x raised to 3 over 3, so it will be x raised to 1, or just simple x. And then w, so multiply, so it will become w raised to 9 over 3, or just w raised to 3, or cube. And then z, multiply lang natin, so it will become z raised to 6 over 3, and it will be z squared. Okay? So, pagsama-samahin lang natin yung mga nakuha nating sagot. So, we have here 2, and then x, and then w cubed, and then z raised to 6. Okay? So, this is how we simplify our cube root of 8 raised x raised to 3, or cube, w raised to 9, z raised to 6. Alright, so this is our answer. Okay guys, so meron tayong dapat kailangang matandaan pagdating sa radicals. So, iniiwasan natin na magkaroon tayo ng fraction na radicand. Okay? So, example nito is yung square root of 25 over 3. So, naka-fraction yung radicand natin. Kaya natin siya nire-rewrite as square root of 25 over square root of 3. Okay? So, ang mangyayari dyan, pwede pa natin i-simplify yung square root of 25, and that is 5. And yung denominator ni square root of 3, wala naman siyang eksaktong sagot, hindi siya perfect square, so as is. Okay? So, ganito siya sinusulat. But, another thing na kailangan natin matandaan, in radical, iniiwasan din natin na magkaroon ng radical sa denominator. So, katulad nung nakuha natin na 5 over square root of 3, tatanggalin natin yung radical dun sa denominator. At kaya dyan, pumapasok or merong nabuo na rationalizing denominator. Okay? So, magbibigay tayo ng example mamaya kung paano gawin yun. Okay, so we have here 5 over square root of 10. So, dito na papasok yung rationalizing denominator para mas-cancel natin yung radical sa denominator. So, ang gagawin lang natin is i-multiply natin to dito sa denominator. Okay? Yung both numerator and denominator. Alright? Kasi, diba, when we have numerator and denominator na parehas, ang equivalent lang naman nito is 1. Tama ba? Kasi, let's say, 5 over 5, diba, equals 1 lang yan kapag dinivide. So, in short, yung ginawa natin is minultiply lang natin basically itong 5 over square root of 10 sa 1. So, wala pa rin naman effect yun. Ang nangyari lang is, mag-iiba lang yung number para ma-cancel natin yung radical sa denominator. So, let's multiply. So, we have now 5 times square root of 10. So, that is 5 square root of 10. Okay? And then, square root of 10 times square root of 10, that is square root of 100. Okay? So, now, we can have 5 square root of 10, and yung denominator natin is square root of 100, naging perfect square ng radicand. And we know that the square root of 100 is 10. Okay? So, next, if we can simplify yung number sa labas, we can do that. So, let's say 5 over 10. Kung i-simplify natin yan, that is 1/2. Tama? And then, we can just copy this square root of 10. Now, kung 1 lang din naman yung nasa labas, so we don't need to write that. So, it will just simply square root of 10 over 2. So, yung 5 over square root of 10, naging square root of 10 over 2. So, nawala yung radical natin sa denominator. Okay? So, yun lang naman yung goal ng pag-rationalize ng denominator, guys. Okay, so we have here 5 over 2 minus square root of 3. So, meron na naman tayong radical dito sa denominator. So, papasok na naman yung rationalizing denominator. So, imumultiply lang din natin ulit sila sa denominator, but this time, kukunin natin yung conjugate ng square root of 3. So, pag sinabing conjugate, same number, but mag-iiba yung sign. Okay? So, it will become 2 plus square root of 3. Okay? And then, multiply natin sila both dun sa numerator and denominator. Alright? So, unahin natin yung numerator. So, it will become 5 times 2, so that is 10. Okay, so that is 10. And then, 5 times positive square root of 3, so that is positive 5 square root of 3. Okay? So, yan yung sagot natin sa numerator. Doon naman sa denominator, so, dahil dyan, gagamit tayo ng ating FOIL method. So, 2 times 2, that is 4. And then, 2 times positive square root of 3, that is positive 2 square root of 3. And then, negative square root of 3, that is negative 2 square root of 3. And then negative square root of 3 times positive square root of 3, that is negative square root of 9. Okay? So, combine like terms kung meron. So, we have here. And, napansin natin na positive and negative. So, pag kinumbine natin, 0, so automatic cancel na. So, we have in 4, and then minus square root of 9. Alam natin that that is 3. So, 4 minus 3, that is 1. So, yung denominator natin dito ay 1. Okay? So, pag ganyan yung denominator natin, the answer is just simply 10 plus 5 square root of 3. Okay? So, ito yung nangyari nung nag-rationalize tayo ng ating denominator. So, kung mapapansin nyo, wala nang radical sa ating denominator. Okay? Alright, next. So, we have here 4 over 1 plus square root of 7. So, again, meron na naman tayong radical sa denominator. So, mag-rationalize na naman tayo ng denominator. Okay? So, mumultiply lang din ulit natin sa ating denominator. But this time, conjugate ulit ng square root of 7 and magiging negative. So, it will become 1 minus square root of 7 over, same lang sila. And then, let's multiply them. So, numerator muna. So, 4 times 1, so that is 4. And then, 4 times negative square root of 7, that is negative 4 square root of 7. Alright, so that is our numerator. And then, yung denominator natin is FOIL method. So, 1 times 1, that's 1. 1 times square root of negative square root of 7, so that is negative square root of 7. So, I don't need to put 1. Okay? Matic na yun. And then, square root of 7 times positive 1. So, that is positive square root of 7. And then, square root of 7 times negative square root of 7. That is negative square root of 49. Okay? So, combine like terms. Pero since positive and negative, so canceled out. And then, we have 1 now. And then, bring down minus square root of 49. That is 7. So, the answer is negative 6. So, that will be our denominator. Okay? So, kung pwedeng i-simplify, i-simplify. So, we have here 4 and sige, i-separate na lang natin. Pwede natin itong isulat na 4 over negative 6 and negative 4 square root of 7 over negative 6. Okay? So, kung pwede nating i-simplify yan, i-simplify natin yan. So, again, lowest term. So, 4 over negative 6, ang lowest term niyan is negative 2 over 3. Okay? So, parehas lang kahit nasaan yung negative yan. Numerator man yan, denominator, o gitna, parehas lang na negative yan. Okay? And then, tong negative 4 over negative 4, so dahil negative divided by negative, that's positive. So, yung lowest term lang din yan is positive 2 over 3. Okay? And then, just copy yung square root of 7. So, in short, kung isi-simplify natin yan, so, it will become negative 2 plus 2 square root of 7. Since same naman sila, you can just write it like this. Okay? So, this is how we rationalize our equation. So, kung papansin nyo, dito sa ating naging sagot, wala na tayong radical sa denominator. Okay?